Good morning everyone. Welcome to the class of social science for class 4. The name of the chapter is the plateau and the desert region. I repeat, the plateau and the desert region. In the contents of this chapter, we will discuss about Southern Plateau. Now, Southern Plateau is divided into two parts, the Central Highlands and Deccan Plateau. Central Highland is again divided into two parts, the Malwa Plateau and the Chota Nagpur Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is divided into one part, that is said to be the Great Indian Desert or Thar Desert. Now, are you able to see this map? In this map, you are able to see several types of physical divisions of India. Here we have Western Himalayas on the top, Trans-Himalayan region also, Thar Desert. Are you able to see Thar Desert at your left hand side? Central Highlands in the middle. Then Western Coastal Plain. Then it comes Western Ghats by the Arabian Sea. Downside, you know, there is an island. Sri Lanka is there, Lakshadweep is there. Okay, now coming to the right hand side, it's a eastern coastal plains. Okay, now with the eastern coastal plain, we are also having the Eastern Ghats. And above the Eastern Ghats, we have Deccan Plateau. Now above that we have Eastern Highlands. Now coming to the Assam and Mizoram, totally the northwest side, it's a northeastern side, it is having northeastern high ranges. Going to the top, we are having Brahmaputra and Barak Valley. Now side by this, we are also having Eastern Himalayas and we also have the Indo-Gangetic plains. Now what you all have to do, you have to take a physical map, okay, of India, and you have to mark all these regions, color it and paste it in your notebook. When you will come, you will show me, okay. So I want to see that what the map you have made and make it beautiful, okay. Do proper coloring, it should not go beyond the boundaries. Clear and name it properly. Now let's discuss about the Southern Plateau. Now what are the silent features of Southern Plateau? To the south of the Northern Plains lies the Southern Plateau. It is triangular in shape. Why it is triangular? Because at the downside you have seen India is triangular. Okay, it covers a large part of India. It is surrounded by Aravalli Range, Rajmahal Hills, Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats. So Southern Plateau is, see over here there is a diagram giving you. In that diagram in the middle you are able to see it is written Southern Plateau. Okay, the top on your northwest side, left hand side on the top it is written Aravalli Range. Below that it is Western Ghats. Okay, now coming to the east side, it means your right hand side, we are having Rajmahal Hills and downside we are having Eastern Ghats. Okay, now in this map, are you able to see number 1, 2 and 3? Number 1 is labeled as Central Highlands. Number 2, Deccan Plateau. And number 3, it is Chota Nagpur Plateau. So these are the main three parts of the Southern Plateau. Now the diagram which is given to you, that the Southern Plateau is divided or it's being recognized by 4 main things. You have to draw it in your notebook, okay, and learn it properly, the classification of the Southern Plateau. Let's discuss about the plateau in detail, okay. The plateau has a rocky and uneven surface. The peninsular plateau covers the state of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra and eastern parts of Kerala. Okay, so the peninsular plateau covers almost the regions of the coastal areas and on the central plain. Okay, the main cities of this region are Bhopal, Indore, Hyderabad, Mysore and Bangalore. Okay, so these are the main cities the peninsular plateau region. Okay, and what is actually a plateau? A plateau is an area which has a rocky and uneven surface. So if the question comes to you, what is a plateau? So you are going to write the answer. A plateau has a rock and uneven surface. Okay, and what are the states which comes in the peninsular plateau? You will write Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra and eastern parts of Kerala. Now coming to the Narmada Valley. You know river Narmada flows in the south. So this Narmada Valley divides the southern plateau into two important parts. To the north it is Central Highlands and to the south it is Deccan Plateau. Okay. So to the north it is Central Highlands and to the south it is Deccan Plateau. So Narmada Valley divides the southern plateau into how many parts? Two parts. Name them: the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. Now here there are two different maps. Okay, one is showing you the Central Highlands and another one is showing you the Deccan Plateau. So here in the northern parts there are the Thar Desert, Aravallis, the Vindhyas, the Chota Nagpur. Okay, the Karo Khasi regions, they all are coming in the Central Highlands, and in the Deccan Plateau you are able to see Rann of Kutch, okay, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, okay, the Satpura Mountains, okay, the Sundarban Forest also comes, the Nilgiri Hills, these are coming in the Deccan Plateau. Okay, so usually these are the other physical structures, but the main thing is in the middle part you are having the Central Highlands and the lower part in the south you are having the Deccan Plateau. Now let us discuss about the Malwa Plateau. The Malwa Plateau lies between Aravalli Hills and the Vindhyas Hill. Okay, Aravalli and Vindhya, in between these two hills it lies the Malwa Plateau. It includes part of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So Malwa Plateau includes the part of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Some important regions are Bhopal, Gwalior and Indore. In the Malwa Plateau there are some important regions. Okay, so what are the name of those regions? Bhopal, Gwalior and Indore. Malwa Plateau lies between two hills. Name them: Aravalli Hills and the Vindhyas Hill. Okay, and what part of the states which comes under the Malwa Plateau? Some parts of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Now coming to the Chota Nagpur Plateau. It includes much of Jharkhand and the parts of Odisha, Bihar and Chhattisgarh. It is rich in minerals. So which plateau is rich in mineral? The Chota Nagpur Plateau, like coal, iron, mica and manganese. Okay, I again repeat: coal, iron, mica and manganese. Many parts of Chota Nagpur Plateau are covered with forests from which we get different kinds of wood and other forest products. Okay. So Chota Nagpur Plateau is very important because it is rich in minerals. And what sort of minerals is being found over there? Are being found coal, iron, mica and manganese. And also most of the part of the Chota Nagpur Plateau is covered or filled with the forest. So as there are number of forests, okay, very dense forest, so we are easily able to get the different kinds of wood and other forest products. Now let us discuss about the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is large triangular plateau. Have you seen a triangle? It is like this in shape. Okay, this is triangle. See, this is a triangle, right? So like this. Now if I am going to do it down, looking at the downside, India is also in the same shape. Okay, so usually the Deccan Plateau is a large triangular plateau in India, covering up the majority of southern part of the country. Okay, because at the down it is south of India, so mostly the southern part of the country comes in the Deccan Plateau. It rises 100 meters high in north and rising further to more than a kilometer high. Okay, so in the south, are you able to see that the India is covered with three sides of water bodies: Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal. So at the three sides we are having water bodies. So in the south it is coming in triangular in shape, and due to this the Deccan Plateau is said to be a large triangular plateau. Now let's continue with the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt and granite rocks, having a region of highlands with typically vast stretches of a flat area on the top, and it looks like a table. Okay, that is why it is known as tabletop. That is why it is known as tabletop. Are we able to see these two pictures here? Now in these two pictures there is a land. To some extent, at some places it is rising up, okay, and at the top it is totally a flat area. Okay, so that is why usually in the Deccan Plateau we are able to see this tabletop. Okay, so the Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt and granite rocks, okay, which is having a region of highlands. Okay, they are not having mountains like structure, but it's a flat surface. It's rising up, but it's a flat on the top. Okay, so it is known as a tabletop. The large area of the south and of the Satpura mountains is Deccan Plateau. Okay, so in the south, the large area of the Satpura mountains comes in the Deccan Plateau, or it is called the Deccan Plateau. It is surrounded by western and eastern Ghats. Okay, so Deccan Plateau is in middle, western and the eastern Ghats at the side. It covers the part of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Clear? So Deccan Plateau lies usually in the Satpura mountains, and it is surrounded by the western and the eastern Ghats. And the states which comes under the Deccan Plateau are Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Now let us differentiate between the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Okay, Western Ghats, which is at the Arabian side. Okay, and the Eastern Ghats, which is as a Bay of Bengal side. So these two ghats are very important in the peninsular region. Now what you have to do, you have to make this. Okay, you have to write these points in your notebook and you have to learn it very nicely. Okay, so let's start with the difference between the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats lie on the western margin of the Deccan Plateau. The Western Ghats are higher in elevation. Elevation means separation, okay, dividing the parts. Their average elevation is from 900 to 1600 meters. It means, have you seen, when we are drawing the mountains, we are drawing like this, okay. So the Western Ghat is having the ranges, okay, dividing like this at the height of 900 to 1600 meters. They have a continuous chain of mountain. Not like this that we are drawing the mountain, then something a flat area is coming and then again the mountain is coming. Not like that. It is in a continuous range, okay, and can be crossed through passes only. No major river has cut across them, okay. So no major river is coming on the Western Ghats. Now come to the Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats lie in the eastern margin of the Deccan Plateau. It means the right hand side. The Eastern Ghats are lower in elevation. It means they are not as high as the Western Ghats are. Their average elevation is 600 meters. The mountain chain are not continuous and are denuded by the rivers which flow into Bay of Bengal. It means boundary changes are here. Again the flat area is there from where the river goes and flow in the Bay of Bengal, and then again the Ghat starts. Okay, the Eastern Ghat starts. So they are not in a continuous range. They have been cut across by major rivers like Godavari, Mahanadi, Krishna and Kaveri. Okay, so at the Eastern Ghat side, the four important and major rivers are Godavari, Mahanadi, Kaveri and Krishna. So what exactly you got with the difference between Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats? Number one, Western Ghats lie in the western margin. Eastern Ghat lies in the eastern margin. Western Ghat is are higher in elevation. Okay, fine. And Eastern Ghat are lower in elevation. Western Ghat, their average elevation is 900 to 1600 meters. Okay, Eastern Ghats are having the average elevation is 600 meters. So 900 to 1600 and here only 600. Now Western Ghats, they are in a continuous chain. Okay, but in the Eastern Ghats they are not in the continuous chain. They are being divided or separated by the rivers which flow in the Bay of Bengal. Okay, now at the Western Ghat there is no major river, but in the Eastern Ghat we are having the major rivers like Godavari, Mahanadi, Krishna and Kaveri. Now coming to the rivers in the Deccan Plateau, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. They are the rivers which flow from west to east and flow into the Bay of Bengal. This is because most of the land in the Deccan Plateau slopes from west to east. It means they have sloping like this. So these rivers come from the west side to the east side. The Deccan Plateau has seasonal rivers because it depends on rain. Okay, so the rivers of the Deccan Plateau are seasonal river. Okay, as the season change, you know the rainy season comes. So these rivers are known as seasonal rivers because it depends on rain. During summer, they may dry up. During the summer season, they dry up. There are number of waterfalls too. You know what is waterfall? Where the water used to fall from the top of the mountain. Okay, and used to be in a very heavy flow. There are number of waterfalls in the Deccan Plateau. The Jog Falls into the Sharavati River in Karnataka is the highest waterfall in India. The Jog Fall in the Sharavati River in Karnataka is the highest waterfall in India. So usually in the rivers of the Deccan Plateau, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, they are the important rivers, okay, which flow from the west to the east and goes into the Bay of Bengal, because the lands of the Deccan Plateau slopes from west to east. That is why they are coming from west to east. Deccan Plateau are having seasonal rivers. Okay, why? Because they depends on the rainfall. In the summer season, they may dry up. Okay, now one more important thing, there are too many waterfalls in the Deccan Plateau, and among them the Jog Fall into the Sharavati River in Karnataka is the highest waterfall in India. Now continuing with the rivers of the Deccan Plateau, the rivers like Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, they form delta. Now what is delta? Delta means where the big rivers comes and join each other. Okay, and all together then they flow and goes into the Bay of Bengal. Like Ganga and Brahmaputra delta you have studied. Now in that what happens? The river Ganga and river Brahmaputra, they all mix together, okay, and becomes a huge deep river. Same like here, Krishna, Godavari and Kaveri, they all mix with each other, flows each other and fall into Bay of Bengal. It is good for rice cultivation, okay, and that is the reason are you able to see in the east side, Bihar, Bengal, or in the south, huge quantity of rice is cultivated. Large parts of the Deccan Plateau have black soil, hence cotton and sugarcane grows very well in this region, because cotton and sugarcane requires black soil for cultivation. Cultivation means to produce, okay, production of cotton and sugarcane, we require black soil, and in the Deccan Plateau, black soil is found in huge quantity. Dams have been built in many of these rivers. For example, the Nagarjun Dam on river Krishna. Okay, this Nagarjun Dam is said to be the very important dam. You know, it usually the dams which are made on these rivers, are used for irrigation, and they also provide electricity, and they also provide what they also provide? They provide electricity. Clear? So these dams are being made. Usually the dams are being made on important rivers, and these dams are used for supplying water for irrigation and generating or creating electricity. Okay, this electricity is being given to the people. Okay, then the people are provided by the electricity with the help of these dams. Now let's come and discuss about the Indian desert. Now firstly, before showing all this, are you able to see this map? In this map you are able to see this sandy area. Okay, that is yellow color. It's a desert area. Especially desert is written in the Rajasthan and some part of the Gujarat. These are the desert regions, and below that it is semi-arid. It means dry but not too much dry. You know, Jaipur lies here only in the semi-arid, but the places like Jaisalmer, Udaipur, Bikaner, they all lies in the desert region. Okay, the Great Indian Desert is also known as Thar Desert. Okay, what is the other name of the Great Indian Desert? Thar Desert. Okay, this Thar Desert is a large arid region in the northwestern part of Indian subcontinent. Okay, in the Indian continent, in this India, this area, this Thar Desert is a large arid region. Where it lies? It lies in the northwestern part with an area of more than 200,000 square kilometer. Okay, so what is the area of the Thar Desert? More than 200,000 square kilometer. It is world's 9th largest subtropical desert. Okay, so Thar Desert is said to be the world's 9th. Okay, it's coming on the 9th position. This is the largest subtropical desert. Okay, so one thing that you have to do is you have to take a physical map of India, and you have to draw and write everything what is being given in this map. See, the Trans-Himalayas, West Himalayas, deserts, semi-arid areas, Central Highlands, Gangetic Plain, Deccan Plateau, Eastern and Western Ghats. Okay, all the coast, fine, in even here northeast. Okay, the Himalayan regions, all the things you have to write, color it beautifully and paste it in your notebook. Now this Thar Desert lies mostly in the Indian state of Rajasthan and extends into the southern portion of Haryana and Punjab states and into the northern Gujarat state. Okay, it means, see, are you able to see in this map? Rajasthan is in between. Okay, desert written. The place where desert is written, that is Rajasthan. Now coming down, it is Gujarat. Okay, now in the Gujarat, the upper portion of the Gujarat, it means coming to the north of Gujarat, there is Thar Desert. Now continuing over there, see, on the top of Rajasthan we are having Punjab and Haryana. Now Punjab and Haryana, the downside, it means the south part of Punjab and Haryana is coming in the Thar Desert. Okay, and the north part of Gujarat is coming also in the Thar Desert, and most of the part of the Rajasthan covers in this Thar Desert region. Now let's discuss about the climate of the Thar Desert. The desert remains very hot, dry, throughout the year because there is very less rainfall. Okay, the region receives very less rainfall, which makes it barren. Now what is the meaning of the word barren? Barren, where the land is not used or cannot be used for cultivation or growing the crops. Why it cannot use? Because the land is gone totally dry. Okay, the moisture of the land has gone off. It's vanished. It's gone. Okay, now during summer days they are very hot and the nights are very cold. Okay, now during winters days are warm and nights are very cold. So nights are during summer, in the nights are cold but not too much cold. But in winter season the nights are very cold. Okay, during summer days the days are very hot, extremely hot. But in the winters the days are warm. Clear? So this is the climate of the Thar desert region. Now let us discuss about the vegetation and wildlife of the Thar desert. Vegetation is scanty. Scanty means very less in Thar desert because there is no water. There is no water, so the land is also totally dry. Okay, in the land there is no growing of the plants is going on. So as there is no crop, so the vegetation is also not possible. Thorny shrubs. Have you seen the cactus? Okay, like that, thorny shrubs and scattered bushes are commonly found there, like cactus, kikar and babool. Oses are also found in some places. Now what is oses? Oses is actually a very small area where the water is being found in the desert region. Camels are called as the ships of desert. Now black bugs, chinkaras and the great Indian bastards are being found in these areas. Okay, usually they are being pronounced as bastards, but the great Indian bastards, okay, are being found in this area. In the next slide I am going to show you the images of these wild animals. Okay, so what is the vegetation? Vegetation in Thar desert is very less, very less. Okay, why? Because there is no water. Now some thorny bushes and scattered shrubs. Okay, thorny shrubs and scattered bushes are found like cactus, kikar and babool. At some places oses are also found. Camels, they are called to be the ship of desert. And why camel is called ship of desert? Because camel is only one animal which can survive without water for many days. Some wild animals like black bugs, chinkaras and the great Indian bastards, they are also found in this area. Now see here the images of these wild animals. On the top, the left hand side, it is, you all know, camel. The side by it is the Indian wolf. Okay, the side there is a dangerous cat. Okay, and that wild cat is called Karkal. What's called? Karkal. Okay, Karkal. Karkal. It's a very dangerous and wild cat. Downside, the black and the white one, such a sweet deer it is. Okay, that's called reindeer. And beside it is chinkara. Okay, chinkara. It's one of the very important and precious wild animal, okay, of the Thar Desert. And next is the Great Indian Bustard, okay. This is actually the Great Indian Bustard. So these animals are of the Thar Desert animals, okay, and they are found in the Thar region. Now let us know about the water system in India. The Indira Gandhi Canal is the longest canal of India. It starts from Harke Barrage at Harke, a few kilometers below the confluence of the Satluj and Peace rivers in the Indian states of Punjab, and terminates in irrigation facilities in the Thar Desert and in the northwest of Rajasthan state. Now see in this map, are you able to see this blue line? This blue line, overall this blue line is the Indira Gandhi Canal, okay, the Indira Gandhi Canal, which is the longest canal of India. Okay, it starts below the Satluj river and comes down to the Thar Desert in Rajasthan. Okay, this canal is very important because it used to help the people with the facility of water for irrigation and for generating the electricity also, because Punjab and some part of Haryana and Rajasthan, they all require water for irrigation purposes. So Indira Gandhi Canal is the very important canal of India. Now in the Indira Gandhi Canal, there is only one river which flows, and that is River Luni. River Luni is the only river of the Thar Desert. Wheat, maize, barley, jowar, bajra are grown in this region. Woolen textile, forestry, coal and petroleum, mining and tourism industries are all present here. Jaisalmer, Bikaner, Jodhpur and Jaipur are the main desert cities of the Thar Desert. Ranthambore, Kollegio, okay. Previously it was known as Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary. Now the name has changed, it is Kollegio. And Sariska, they are the famous national park, okay. Ranthambore, which is known for the tigers especially, okay. Now Ranthambore, Kollegio and Sariska, they are the famous national park. Jaisalmer, Bikaner, Jodhpur, Jaipur, they are the main desert cities. And the Thar Desert is also known for its woolen textiles, forestry, coal and petroleum, mining, and most importantly, the tourism industries. Why tourism industry? Because many people from all around this world come here and visit the places, and they really like the places. You have seen in Jaipur, there are so many tourists from all over the world are coming to visit the Amer Fort, the Hawa Mahal and so other historical places. So this is also very important for the tourism industry. Which river? The only one particular river which is flowing in the Thar region is River Luni. Let us discuss about the life in the desert. That how do the people live there? Life in the desert is very hard, okay? Not able to live very easily. The Thar Desert is inhabited by Banjaras. Have you seen bancharas? Or you have heard about banchara? In the movies also, there are so many banchara. We are able to see the people wearing the banchara dresses. Okay, so the Thar desert are usually, in the Thar desert, usually the bancharas used to live. Bancharas are nomads. Nomads. Now, who are the nomads? Who used to move from one place to another in search of water and food. Okay, women wear ghangra, choli and orni, and I hope you have all seen these dresses. Men wear dhoti, kurta and turban. Turban that the male people used to wear in the villages. Their clothes are generally bright. It means with a very shining colors like blue, yellow, red, okay, orange, and they are very colorful. They celebrate festivals like Dashera, Diwali, Teej and Kankor. I hope you all know about Teej and Kankor of the Rajasthan. They are the favorite festival and the famous festivals of the Rajasthan, especially for the Thar region. Now see here the images. Now are you able to see the two ladies over here wearing the blue color dress? They are the nomads. They are from the bancharas. Okay, the lady who is dancing, she is also a banchara and she is wearing the traditional dress. Okay, at the top, are you able to see the Kankor Teej Puja? This is among the famous puja or the famous festival of Rajasthan. Okay, of the desert region of the Thar desert. Now, are you able to see that small boy who is having some round of cloth on the head? That is called turban. That is called turban. Same like here at the right hand side corner, there is a man who is wearing dhoti, kurta and also wearing a turban on the head. Now on the top of this, there is a beautiful painting where a woman is wearing a banchara dress, and at the back side there is a man who is riding the camel. He is wearing dhoti, kurta and the turban. This is all the lifestyle of the people in the Thar region. Usually these are known as called to be the traditional dresses of the Thar region. Now let's come to the glossary or the vocabulary. First word is oasis, a fertile spot in a desert where water is found. This is called oasis. So what is oasis? A fertile spot, a small piece of land where the water is found in the desert region is called oasis. Banchara. Now banchara is a Hindi word which is used for the kind of nomadic people who roam around living here and there, and they don't have any permanent house. Now, what do you mean by nomads? A member of a people that travels from one place to another to find fresh pasture. Pasture means grass. Okay, animals used to eat grass, goats, sheep and all. So nomads are the people who travels from one place to another to find fresh food for their animals, and they don't have house, their own permanent home. Now next is sand dune, a hill of sand near an ocean or in a desert that is formed by the wind. As you all know, when the huge wind used to go, the sand also comes, and after some time the sand used to collect at one place. That is like a small mountain. Okay, that is called sand dune. Now irrigation. Irrigation, the supply of water to the land or the crops to help grow. Okay. Now next is arid. Arid means very dry. You know, Thar desert is a very arid area, having a very arid area. Arid area means very dry because there is no rainfall or very less rainfall. Okay, so in this chapter we have discussed about the southern plateaus. Okay, we have discussed about the Deccan Plateau, we have discussed about the Chota Nagpur Plateau, Malwa Plateau. Okay, we have discussed about the Thar desert, how the people used to live there. Now what your work is to read the chapter properly and whatever the map work I have given you, and including the difference between the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Okay, that all you have to write and in your notebook very nicely. Okay, very beautifully in a good handwriting. Okay, and all the map work should be very neat and clean. Okay, proper coloring with proper labeling. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day ahead.